My name is Tyler David, and you're watching Field of Dreams on ACTN.
Hey everybody, welcome to Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. As usual, I've got my star-studded panel. I'll introduce them now and then I'll tell you what this topic is all about. Welcome to the set, Alvin. Alvin Henderson, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, Steve. Always a pleasure to be here.
Next to Alvin is Larry Joseph. Welcome to the set, Larry.
Thanks again, Steve.
And Jefferson George, welcome to the set.
Thank you, Steve.
My reason for talking about the topic, which is game situational breakdown. We're breaking down the games in certain situations because we talk about how average the players are, and sometimes they need to hear us on how we think and how we feel and in certain situations of the game. And I love to watch the U.S. women soccer players only because they are so clever in their thoughts. And maybe the viewers who doesn't know much about football don't understand it very well, so they can learn as well. And then, because just last Sunday or Monday, I went to see a game with Civic Center, and we had a 3-on-2. When I say we, I'm talking about Civic Center. We break with 2 defenders and 3 of our guys. And I'm not going to call the person's name, but in the middle, he takes the ball, which was good he was doing, and the defenders start to collapse. And he needed to take it maybe another 5 yards so they can totally collapse, and you're going to have these guys wide to give it to. But he give it early. So he give it early to the left side, and now the defender shift across. And now the other defender on the right side went too early again down the middle and crowded. Now the person who had the ball first, coming down the middle, he should have broke out wide. And he didn't do that. So both of them went, guy crossed it, ball went free. You know, these are the simple things that happens in the game that so I says, I need to talk about breakdown of games because the kids and they need to understand and know maybe the coaches are not telling them. So do we start up front or we start in the back? As a matter of fact, we have Jefferson a goalkeeper, Larry a midfield, Alvin a striker. I'll be the defender. I study defenders because I know. So we can all talk about in different situations. Yeah. Let's start with we'll start with Jeff in the goal, or you, Alvin, up front as a striker.
I think we could start with the forwards, the situation that you have already described. And we could talk about that in situations where forwards are outnumbering defenders and what is necessary to be able to get them at least a shot on goal, a clear shot on goal, or into goal scoring position. We always hear that, especially in 3v2 situations or 2v1 situations, the advantage is clearly to the forwards coming in. And what I don't see enough of in those situations is the forwards in Trinidad and Tobago making the defenders make a crucial decision. And one of the easiest ways for to make a defender make a crucial decision is instead of making a diagonal run in front of the man who's carrying the ball, you can make a diagonal run behind his back.
Mm-hmm.
And especially in a 2v1 situation, even in a 3v2 situation. If you make a diagonal run behind his back, the second defender, the one who's not actively watching the ball and looking to cover, he has a decision to make. His decision is, shall I go? Shall I hand over that man to somebody else? Or shall I just wait and give cover? Mm-hmm. And oftentimes, in that flash, in that spur of the moment, space opens up for the forward who is carrying the ball to make a decision. If he doesn't go, he can feed the ball into that wide overlapping defender forward position. If he goes, then that space that has been created is available for the forward to use. And sometimes you don't have to dribble the defender completely. All you need is space so that you could get off a shot or where the circumference of the ball can pass. Mm-hmm. And I saw something, and we could talk about situations that are happening regularly in games. I saw Batshuayi yesterday playing Chelsea versus Manchester United. Yeah. There were 3 forwards chasing him. And 3 defenders chasing Batshuayi. And Batshuayi made a run to the right. The forward who was close to him made a good run to pull away a defender, and all he gets is half a chance on goal from outside the box, and he still scored. Mm-hmm. So all you need to be created is a small space by another forward running off the ball. And that is why you hear me time and time again say, good forwards come in pairs. Because to tell you the honest truth, if I didn't have a paired forward with me when I was playing, I wouldn't have been able to get free on so many occasions. Mm-hmm. Because that forward took away defenders and made space for me so that I could get a chance or a shot on goal.
But they have forwards who bring people into the field and won. I was like, oh, Lord, get him off the field, right?
Well, that is why I'm saying a lot of the times that diagonal run, you don't want it in front of. Yeah. If you make that diagonal run behind, it doesn't obstruct what you are doing.
Right.
And that diagonal run, he still has to make a decision about covering. The 2 defenders have to make. Another one that, just briefly, that you talked about, is sometimes as you come closer to the goal, all you have to do as a forward is sometimes widen a little bit. You widen either side of the 2 defenders who are collapsing without going offside. Many people widen, but they go offside. You have to widen and make sure that you stay behind the ball or you stay in a situation with the defender so that you're not offside. And then you have enough space and time to get the ball to get a shot.
Normally, if you're 1-on-1, if I don't ask you for, if I'm 1-on-1 with a goalkeeper, with a defender, and there's nobody behind, I don't need you. Right. I don't need you. Don't come. It's either if I'm quicker than this guy, it's the push and go, and if I am not even as quick as I am, then I have to find a way to dribble you. And that's what the U.S. women do a lot. I see them all the time, especially with the wingers. They come, and you leave them, they leave the space for them to go. But I hate when forwards come, making runs, and they bring people that I don't like that. And then another thing with forwards that they need to understand is a defender, if you defended me and the ball is here, you cannot see the ball and me at the same time. I'm waiting to go late all the time. So if the defender could see you on the ball, then you're not doing a good job as a striker. So, but anyhow, Larry, let's talk about some situation that probably
from midfielders see all the situations simply because of the name that they carry. They are supposed to be the bridge between the forwards and the defenders and the goalkeeper. So that you have to have a certain instinct that would allow you, in terms of the way you play, that would facilitate those two disciplines. In the attacking sense, one expects you to be able to at least to retain possession of the ball when your team has it and try to create something. And I'm speaking about from a creative midfielder's point of view, which is what I used to be. Now you have defensive midfield, zero creativity about them whatsoever. So that's not in their mindset. And sometimes you may have wide midfielders whose task is really to go past the wing backs on that side. So, but I'm speaking purely from a creative point of view.
Right.
So when I am in possession of the ball, whether I get it from my defender, as the case may be, my first instinct is to try to create something. Of course, that would depend on my skill set, whether I'm a really good dribbler of the ball that could open up spaces with a dribble, or am I a good passer of the ball where I could also advance the ball by a pass. Right? So in transition and in all occasions in the game, the transition of a game is what decides what your next move will be. So in a scenario, let's pinpoint that 3-against-2 scenario that you started with. I'm assuming the guy with the ball coming forward would be a midfielder, and his two supporters would be forwards. So with me in possession of the ball, with only two defenders in front of me, depending on where the space is, if I'm just on top of the 18-yard box advancing at pace, at some point in time, the two defenders would collapse to narrow the space for me, which would obviously free up my two attackers. I have a decision to make. One, do I want to release one of my forwards on either side, or do I take it on myself? Because obviously I'm thinking these defenders are processing in their mind what this midfielder going to do. He's going to pass, he's going to shoot. So I have to know in my mind, listen, I have to keep them in a state of confusion as to what I will go to do, what I'm going to do. So even at pace and advancing the ball, I will do certain things to throw them off. I may look to the left just with my eyes. They may try to read my eyes, but I know my intention is not to go left. So I have to have the ability as that midfielder to think quickly, because I'm running at pace. The space, I'm quickly getting into the 18-yard box. And so the pressure in your mind as to make a proper decision has increased. So for me, I would look at the very last moment, to see whether the defenders have allowed me to take a shot or left enough space where I can now play the ball to one of my attackers who is in a better position than me. All of that has to be done in a split second.
Right. So you could stay until they commit.
Yeah. So I'm advancing, of course, and I'm expecting them to commit at some point in time. So I have that mindset while I'm traveling with the ball. And I'm looking to see when they do. If they don't, that is also they committed by not committing. So it opens up more situations for me, right? But what I don't like to see with midfielders is they're not in a position to react quickly to changing scenarios in front of them. Too many times I see midfielders unsure as to what to do, and the chance is gone. So of course I'm saying that these things happen in terms of situations changing and playing getting shut down, and you may make a bad pass and stuff. And those things happen in a game. I don't want to talk as if I never made a mistake and made wrong decisions. I don't want it to come across like that. But by and large, you still want to approach the game with enough game intelligence, and more often than not, you make the right decisions in tight situations, which calls for a greater skill set and composure of the mind than in an open space when you have room and your opposition giving you time to think and to turn and all them kind of things.
And when we make a mistake, like you said, it's okay. We learn from it.
Exactly.
Right on the field, because it's going to happen again and again and again on that same game.
Yeah, and for me personally, I used to really take a lot of personal pride in minimizing my mistakes. I used to take personal pride. If I make a bad pass in a game, you wouldn't believe how that used to bother me. I used to want to run down the ball to get it back to correct that mistake. So, so I used to always judge myself on a high success rate, whether it be dribbling, passing, defending, I used to always like to keep my ratio very high in the
Right.
positive parts of the game. You know.
Harry, let me just add a quick thing here, is that situation when you as a midfielder are coming with the ball and the defender is often retreating, waiting for his time to put in the tackle. The forwards have to be very aware. And this often, I see this happening so often, I say, Lord. They have to be aware that when that defender makes his
Move.
commitment to move, you must make sure that you are in onside position.
Yes, correct.
Too many of them are closer to where the defensive
Defenders-
line
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And when the defender steps forward to make the tackle
They're in a offside
and the pass
position.
comes,
Offside.
the offside.
Yeah.
So it's either you stay behind the ball or you stay in a position such that even if the defender steps up, you're still onside. The ball can still be played into space in front of you
You could run on
so that you could run onto it. But don't go in line with the defenders, and when the defender steps up, you spoil a good play. You know, you're in a 2 versus 1 or 3 versus 1 or 3, and then you got caught offside in a crucial time when the midfielder is about to pass the ball.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good scenario, and I think a lot of us would have seen a lot of instances where you have an attacking team with a numerical advantage trying to force it home, and because of the players, and oftentimes it's the players off the ball that will diffuse this situation, right?
How do you see it? How do you see the game from the goal in situation like
Yeah,
you're talking about?
well,
You have
Tell
2
us.
defenders and guys, your 2 defenders
your
and 3
defense,
attackers.
yeah.
What are
No,
your
well,
instructions?
well, for me, and remember now, I coach as well. So I mean, and also my players who are on my team would have to take advantage of these positive situations. So let me go at it as my team having the ball first, and then we will do the defensive part of it. Because I mean, I don't think too much can be said about sometimes the intelligence of our players or lack thereof, sometimes to force home these advantages. And I mean at every level, right? That game was a professional game that you were looking at. And as I say, sometimes the players without the ball don't seem to have an idea as to what their movement should be. They are most times just waiting for a pass, or instead of making a movement that could enhance the player who's coming with the ball. And as Larry is saying, if the responsibility of the strikers in that situation, as the midfielders come in, is to make sure that they can keep the advantage 3 against 2. The other scenario is because the defenders are backtracking, defenders are trained to delay, to allow recovering to come in. So it can't be something that is taken, as Larry said, it can't take 3-4 seconds because people are recovering. So if you have a 3 against 2 scenario, that will stay 3 against 2 probably for 4 seconds. So, and that's a long time in football. And I think a lot of times you see where too much attention is being placed on the player coming with the ball and not responsibility given to the player, or accepted by the players who are running off it, right? So I think that's in terms of the attacking part of it, I agree totally that there's a need for a lot more thinking in terms of our off the ball movement to increase, because even though we are playing 1 against 1, right?
Let me give you some time to think, because you just said about a lot of more thinking, right?
Right.
I'll give you more time to think. and we'll take a break. Viewers, we'll be right back after a short break.
Angle running, coming for the ball, gives you a chance to create space for somebody else to run into. It also gives you, when you come at an angle run, even if the man is on your back and an angle run,
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Yes, Jefferson, you were saying.
Yeah, and I say sometimes we always believe that we are waiting to get on the ball to make something happen, and not making things happen by our runs off the ball. I think that's something that we need to see a lot more of by our local players at every level. Right.
Okay. Let's talk about, like Jefferson said, running off the ball. Let's talk about situations that what you expect, Alvin, what you expect, Larry as a midfield, and Jefferson and you as a goalkeeper, what you expect, right? You want me to create the situation?
Okay.
Ball is in the goalkeeper's hand. As a striker, or let's say he rolls it out to the midfield. As a striker, what you like to see, or the runs you like to make out of it?
Well, I think most strikers make 3 basic runs. They run either diagonally into wide position, straight forward into a very direct position, or they come towards the ball. One of the things that I don't even see at the highest level these days is let's talk about the run coming towards the ball. If it's an angled run and you don't come straight towards the ball, if it's an angled run, and especially if a defender is on your back, you cause him to make a decision early in your run coming off the ball. Should I go with this forward? Or should I stay in the space that I am to cover a pass to that space that would be created if I
were to
leave?
leave? Yeah.
So an angle running, coming towards the ball, I look for it all the time, even at Trinidad and Tobago level, and I don't see it. Because angle running, coming for the ball, gives you a chance to create space for somebody else to run into. It also gives you, when you come at an angle run, even if the man is on your back and an angle run, it gives you a chance to be able to turn on
field.
You could either turn in one direction or the other if he is on your back. So angle running, coming towards the ball, is a space-creating run. It's a run that gives you a chance to be able to collect the ball and turn in either direction. In every run that you make, even in the run that you are coming towards the ball, it's very important that you disguise your run. And how do you disguise your run? It's simple for forward. And this is what you want to teach forwards at a very young age. If I am already decided that I'm coming for the ball, my first step is away, and then I
check back.
And I check.
Right.
So I come away. The defender doesn't know that you're going. You know that you're going
That's
there.
right.
So your first step, he has to
React.
He has to react.
as your dance partner.
You hold him there.
Yeah.
As your dance partner, he has to check, and then you come to, and you get that extra half a yard that you need. And the same thing happens if I'm going to make a diagonal run or if I'm going to make a straightforward run. I come, check
Always.
towards the ball,
And
if you have if you have the synergy with a midfielder of quality, he knows that you're not coming for this ball. He knows that, hey, Alvin only checking here to go over the top. And that space that you create by that just simple check, either for the ball that is going directly over his head or even the ball that is going on a diagonal, you check left and you go right, you get a half a yard of space. But I'm not seeing that check. I'm not seeing the angle run enough. Those simple little things give you half a yard. That is all you need as a.
Well, Larry is loving you. He's smiling because that's what he wants as a midfield.
you see, because for a creative midfielder loves a forward who is not static.
Right.
Because by his movements, he creates so many scenarios for a creative mind. And that's what a creative mind likes. It likes a challenge. It likes options, right? the creative mind can also, out of nothing, create something. But it would be less than if there are so many options being opened up because he has a forward who is not staying in any one position and is making all these runs and is making a lot of dummies and selling the defenders in different directions. So in a game, what players like, that's not just me alone, you like to be in a rhythm in a game. If you're in a rhythm, and the rhythm is not just with you alone, as a creative midfielder, you want to be in a rhythm maybe with your other midfielders, but more so with your strikers, because you want to make a telling contribution. So that if you have a striker, every time you collect the ball in the midfield and raise your head, you see he's doing something to receive the ball, if not immediately, but trying to do something to open up space for himself or somebody else. You feel I just feel energized when I have a striker like that.
Right.
Because it means then that I could go to work. There are things that I could do now. Right? It is easier, of course, if I don't have to do something myself. Try to dribble past a man in a small space or something like that. Because the forward is doing things in front of me that is allowing me now to capitalize on my creativity to see if we could penetrate that defense. So for me, as a midfielder, I collect the ball, boom, and I turn. Even if I collect with my back towards my striker, and they allow me to turn to face him, and I see my forward, and I would know, of course, okay, he coming off the defender, but he coming off the defender here, but he really want to pick it up here. So I wouldn't pass the ball to him with his first run. That's not where he wants it. He wants it when he takes the defender out of his safe zone. He goes back into the unsecured space now. That's where I'm going to play my ball. You know what I mean? And that, for me, of course, if we finish with a goal, I mean, and I have played at club level with some fantastic strikers. Philbert Jones and Adrian Fonrose, Dexter Cyrus, Deezer Daniel, Anthony Joseph. These players were blessed with pace. And most of the time, I just had to find a penetrative pass to these strikers, and they would do the rest. I used to look good, but it's because of the finishing. No matter how good the pass is, if it didn't go in the goal, you know what I mean? Yeah. And our success rate in terms of putting the ball in the net from some of those penetrative passes were very, very, very high, both on the ground and over the top, as Doc say, right? Because our midfielder, if somebody runs the forward making, is to create space behind the back. And the only how you could get that ball is over the top, you know. And a good midfielder with good technical ability would be able to do it. So for me as a midfielder, and that's in the attacking sense, of course, another thing for a midfielder is being able to work with your other midfielders to retain possession. Because I know how the game goes, you're in no position to attack. Your player's not in position, you not in the order, everything is out of sync. And you know how you have to build the attack. So as a midfielder, you know how to change your mind, your process in your mind as to what you will do. You know you want to go forward, but you go take about 5 passes. Don't try to do it in one. You'll break down the play. Yeah.
There's a saying that I used to try to teach my forwards when I was coaching forward. And I keep trying to drum it into their heads. The run brings the pass. So if you're standing up and you're not running off the ball, the passes are not going to come. Coach, I ain't getting no pass. He ain't want to pass me. Coach, I ain't getting no pass.
And when they say that, it's like, work and you're going to get it. It's like when they're not
the
working.
run brings the pass. If you make the proper run, the passes are going to come. So
and that's a good point you're making, Doc. From a midfielder's point of view, if I raise my head and my forward is standing
still
static, the options for me in terms of the opening is so limited because the defenders don't have to do anything.
Right.
They just have to stand up there because you're not committing them to anything.
Right.
So it makes it even more difficult for a midfielder to try to create something out of it. So even though I were to go past my midfielder, I'm still faced with this block of 4 defenders, right? And I can't see no opening at all because my forward decide that, listen, hey, I sign up one place, you know what I mean? And even though I give the ball, he can't create anything because he's not in a position positionally and anything else to do anything with the ball. If he's blessed with holding up ability, some players are like that, you know. Well, fine, you have tried to buy yourself some time to see if the situation could change. But still, you would, even though you are of that ilk, you still want to see that forward do something. You know, I mean, of course, I'm expecting that this would be discussed in the training session so that you would get it on the field, you know.
Larry, I'd just like to point out the young attacking players right now, midfielders and forwards especially. There are two teams right now. We watch the EPL a lot. Spanish division we don't see as often, but the Trinidadians watch the EPL. And Manchester City and Liverpool have some attacking quality there in those two teams, where players are running off the ball
all the time.
Listen,
90 minutes.
it is so pleasing to watch as a footballer to see those runs off the ball, because they are running off the ball, real quality runs off. Sometimes they don't always come off, and you know the situation doesn't always come to fruition, but the runs off the ball. Delight to watch.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that the modern players, in looking at some of the colleges league that I went and looked at, that's one of the things that I quickly noticed. The players are not running off the ball sufficiently. It's as if they're not within a close proximity to the ball, they feel as if they are out of the game. You know, so their mental preparation is not there. Sometimes they react rather than act, you know. And when you look at football on TV, unfortunately, the camera could only zoom in on a small area of play where the ball is. And sometimes our local players, and I'm only assuming here, believe that the players outside of the camera don't be doing anything. But if you were to sit in the stadium and to see the runs that these players make, I remember a friend of mine, and he went to look at a preseason game in America that these English teams always go on, and he went to see Chelsea. And when he come back, boy, he'd say, boy, I see Frank Lampard, boy. You see, I see that man making some runs off the ball, boy. Watch now. He say, when I watching that man on TV, I never know he used to run so much, you know. You know. So it just reinforces the point I'm making. Some of our local players, of course, don't go to see these games live. They just see the television part of it. And so they come away with a skewed impression as to what these players do. Just like with free kicks, to see Messi step up, he goes over the wall and he scores. They feel the first time Messi do that is on the game. They realize that might be free kick number 2,000.
Right.
The first 1,999 was in the training pitch. You know, so as the doc says, we have to say to these young players, if they look at our show, right, that some of the things we're talking about here, of course, has to be rehearsed on the field, you know, over repeatedly, monotonously, I must say that, right? Sometimes they may feel the coach boring because he have them doing it over and over and over, but there's a reason, you know. We could elaborate on that as we go forward.
Yeah, I think that's an important point. Doc mentioned is the run that initiates the pass. And a lot of times, players, young players particularly, they hear the terms, you know, run off the ball, and they mean probably just move away from it. But all the movements related to the person who's carrying the ball has to be intentional. There's a reason for doing what you do. Remember Ulja, who was the striker number 9 for W Connection. Of course, he was very powerful, so he could have, you know, jumped and tussled with the tallest. But he was very clever in terms of how he used his space. Right? I had a decent throw. I could throw way across the half line, and sometimes he was the one who would tell me. He said, you don't need to kick it, you know, use your hands. And he would bring the defender, especially the playing high, he would bring the defender, and I know he's not coming for the ball to post up. He's going to peel and over the back, you know. And I'm not throwing the ball to him. I'm throwing the ball in between the two stoppers because he knows where he's going to get it. And these are the type of things that on that particular day, somebody's seen that. It looks like, you know, easy. But at the end of the day, the run is intentional to draw the defender he doesn't know, obviously, he's going to peel away to go for it. And that is what gives him the head start, so to speak, to go around the back. So a lot of times you would see even us here with teams who would now trying to build the ball out of the back, and as simple as the starting position, body position of the fullbacks, they're not giving themselves an advantageous position where when they pick up their open, right? A personal player on the left back, you might have their left foot inside the field, meaning that they're turned towards the goalkeeper to receive the ball, which means that when they control the ball, they have to take another touch
to go out.
to fix their body, right? Now, which means at that time they're being closed down.
That's right.
So something it seems simple, but this is what allows players to look like if they have more time on the field. So you look at the City players, the Liverpool players, the shape of their body, they open their back towards the line. So even if they're taking it on the left foot, they have that pass up the line, they could put it on the right, they could go into the inside midfielder. So that gives them more options on the ball, which makes it more difficult to defend, and they're easy to come out with the ball. I remember even looking at the national team play, and simple as the body position, when the ball goes to them, players start to close down early, and the ball has to come back around, right? And that's our opportunity loss. So, I mean, this is a very important thing to learn, as a young player, and not just for young players, but I mean, everybody has to execute, because this is actually what causes you to be successful on the field.
I we need to take a break. Viewers will be right back. On the goal line, like Cyrus always on the goal line. He's on the goal line and it comes back, then he can attack it. But if he squares his body up, he is dead in the water. Obviously, you and I are not defenders. That's why we can't talk about it. What do you think, Larry? I just saw you playing out there, and you look real good. Who are you?
Well, I'm Lucas Kisa. I'm the best footballer Ponce ever seen.
Oh, really? You know any of the older players who play here?
Well, I know Warren Akibal, Leroy Dillion.
Stop. You know me? Boy, I was the best striker, the best forward that this country ever seen.
Oh, Wilfred K.
Boy, I'm Steve David, boy. Okay, viewers, welcome back. Jefferson, I'm going to give you this one. I'll put you on the spot here. Ball break down to the bar line. Person coming into your goal at the bar line and gets to the line. Where would you position? Where would you be with your defense? Set up your defense for me.
All right. Ball goes down the byline. All right. This is something I just was explaining last week to one of the players. The goalkeeper and the central defenders should have a tight bond, as Alvin was saying. Strikers come in pairs. Well, a goalkeeper isn't by himself, unless you're other than that, you're just waiting to save. One of the defenders who is renowned right now is Virgil van Dijk. And if you look at him play, he would position himself on the line of that ball. So the ball is wide, and we're taking for granted that the fullback is beaten, so the ball is going to be delivered. And he never looks just at the ball. He's standing. He knows where the runner is. So he knows where the ball is going to be delivered. So he puts himself in a position just on the line of that first post. And over his left shoulder, taking out the ball is on the right side, he can see the runner, which is the person who is going to receive the ball, the striker. The server is outside. And the second defender, and we assume we're playing a back four here, is on the opposite side of the runner. And for that particular delivery, that is how I would have.
Where's your position?
My position is just a foot and a half inside the post, not too far forward.
Okay, because I heard Clarky say something different. What were you going to say?
There are two things I want to say about those situations as a coach. one of the things I coach, and I always tell people as defenders, you want to be able, in most situations on the field, to see ball, man, and goal, and be in a position, a triangle, where it's ball, man, and goal at the same time. You are somewhere in that triangle, and you're seeing the man and the ball at the same time. In a situation that you have just described, this is one of the few situations that you will front the player who is about to receive the ball. Because oftentimes, and I've seen it even in the EPL, you'll see the defender still behind the man. If that player comes across you and a ball is played, you have no chance. All he has to do is get a flick and you're dead. Yeah, but so you have to be in front.
In front.
The defender, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, of course, but you can't go past that first post.
Huh?
The defender has to hold his runners, and you holding yours is a cat and mouse game.
I like it,
of course,
because that's what I'm saying. Now, in situations like that, another factor would be how far the ball is towards the byline, right?
Close to the corner.
So now, if he's inside the field, probably at the apex of the 18, you can drift a little further forward. But if the ball is deeper, then you want to hold towards closer to the center of the goal.
Yeah. So there was one situation where the defender would sometimes come in front of the forward.
Right.
Because if you wait until that forward beats you to the ball, you go. All he needs, if it comes high, he needs a flick. All low, he just needs a flick as well. The other thing about that situation, the goalkeeper, especially if he's deep on the byline, the goalkeeper's goal is now his 6-yard box. Because if that ball comes across the 6-yard box and the goalkeeper allows it to go across the 6-yard box,
no chance.
No chance. Because as there's a saying that we always used to say, again, good strikers make their living on the far post.
Right.
And that, if you don't get your first post, if you don't get a good first post run, and that is why I like strikers in pairs. One going first post and the other one coming late on the
Clean up.
just to stick it in.
What you just said is what Clarkey says, Anthony Clark, when he was in the show. He says, no, the 6-yard box is his goal. If it passed him, well, but so he's going to try to get that ball from not going across.
Right.
So that's his goal post now.
So, this is what I'm saying. So you have a situation where the further away from the ball, the further away from the goal the ball is, the further back you can be. The closer the ball comes to the goal, then you have to narrow out, right? Because if the ball is close in, the first post becomes more, it becomes a hot zone, right? If the ball is further away, obviously you're anticipating the ball being served.
Well, he's looking at long end.
So that's it. But again, to reinforce what Alvin said, that's where you see Van Dijk playing. The amount of interceptions after the game you'll see he has. Because he fronts the player, but he knows where the player is. So he's not just running into the box where the player will end up deeper than him or end up more penalty spot and he's on the 6-yard. If the player is taking the run slow, he's coming in on the line of the ball with that player. And look at him, and he's very, very successful at interceptions.
But if a defender fronts me, it would have space on both sides. If I want the ball here, I'm going to go on his right shoulder. If he have me, and then I would break it on the left, or vice versa. So, and if a defender fronts you, okay. But if he gives me the space, I'm going to hold my run until the guy ready to cross it, and then I'm going to go back.
Right. And holding the run. In fact, the U.S. national senior team several years ago, I thought they were actually close to the best in the world at holding their run. The U.S. national team, if a fella broke down the right head into the byline, the defenders have no choice but to get in line with where the ball is. And the U.S. national team used to come in 2 waves. You will see somebody coming to the first post, another forward holding his run in and around the penalty spot. And a third wave coming from behind.
Right.
They don't do it as well with this group of and I think that was, a lot of people say, oh, Klinsmann couldn't coach. That was one thing Klinsmann could have coached. Because he, as a forward, perhaps knew exactly the type of situation that you would want your forwards in. Because if I see a man break into if I see a forward break into the byline, me as a forward, there are two situations I'm going to see. If I feel I could beat that man to the first post, I'm going to beat him to the first post to get a flick. If I feel I can't beat him to the first post because he's in good position, I'm going to pull off and wait for the ball being pulled back to me.
From a defender standpoint, and I'm a defender, you guys know that, right? I would look. If the ball line, this is a byline, I have to be in this position that I could see man with a little twist of the head. If you like this, you can't see no deep.
No, but you know where he is. Huh? You know where he is. Because a chip ball can't get him to score. Anything chipped in the air, that's your goal. Yeah. Anything that beats you on that first post is potentially dangerous.
But if the defender squares up, if this is the byline, and the defender squares up his body, then he has no chance.
Don't say that.
He doesn't know. Yeah, he can't see you. No, he has no chance.
No. Remember, the defenders are in pairs. He's the front defender. There's already one behind.
Right.
Okay, but
they put the forward in between the two.
So, but if he stands like this here, he has that. That's the look. That should be the defensive position.
If it's distance away, yes. If it's close and a ball is being driven across, he has to square up his butt.
But I would, as a striker, I would hate to see I wouldn't like a defender who gives me this. Because now, especially if he's on the goal line, like Cyrus always on the goal line. He's on the goal line and it comes back, then he could attack it. But if he squares his body up, he is dead in the water. Obviously, you and I are not defenders. That's why we can't talk about it. What do you think, Larry?
I mean, for defenders go through certain scenarios in training as to where the position should be in relation to where the ball is.
Right.
Some coaches, surprisingly, tend to differ. I don't think there's a coaches union where that is concerned. A lot of our coaches have some really different ideas in where defenders should position themselves in certain scenarios. So you just need to go with what the coaches teaches you. But I mean, your game intelligence, I'm just looking at it from a game intelligence, right? Obviously, depends on how far the ball is away from the player. And for me, I usually try to look at players, see what type of technical ability they have, and anticipate the quality. Let's put it that way. You know what I mean? So that if I know that man really like a De Bruyne, who is one of the greatest passers of the ball I've seen, at pace into the 6-yard box or even more into the 2-yard box, he's that good. He doesn't give you a chance to react. So as a defender, you have to be very specific and particular. And you can't work by yourself. You need to work with your goalkeeper because he's that good.
Yeah, because you mentioned the coaches have their way. The goalkeepers often have a big part
to play with that in terms of stopping. Exactly.
I remember when I started to play for the national team, Michael Morris was the goalkeeper. And let me tell you, every defensive position I took up, it was on his instruction because Mike would ball at you. From in the goal, he would ball at you. Larry, go to your left. Larry, come back. Larry, go to your right. I'm 40 yards away. And it's like if you right in my ears, because he wanted his defenders, not the 4 defenders, his players who are defending to be in a specific position to make his job easy. So that's another thing too. Based on where my goalkeeper want me to go, may not have nothing to do with what I want to do. He would say, hey, go forward. Hey, take up that man there. Oh, come back. In a case like that. So yes, so I'm saying, that is also a scenario that you have to consider. If you have a goalkeeper like bro, you have to. He will tell you everything else after if you don't do it.
Yeah, the goalkeeper will and should give instruction. And that's why I'm saying they have to work together. But what Steve was getting at, I think, is body positioning. And that as well would determine by how far the player who's going to serve is from you, right? Because as Doc was suggesting, yes, that side on, you want to see him as he's coming deeper so you can see the runner and you can see the person serving the ball. But as he comes closer, you have to get it more square so that you can be able to put in the block, you know?
Yeah, there are different scenarios.
Yeah.
And in those cases, I'm sure teams practice those scenarios so that defenders going into the game knows if the scenario crops up. This should be my starting position bodily as the case may be. You know, not to mention the fact that you as a player would have some intelligence, you would assume they would take up an intelligent body position. You know. Of course, if somebody comes along who is really good at crossing, I mean, all of that goes through the window. But you still want to put yourself to minimize the danger. You could only do as much as you could do, right? And sometimes by good positioning, you could actually diffuse a dangerous attack.
That's correct.
Because you could be in the position where the ball actually comes and you could clear the danger. Yeah.
Or because being in that position, you force the player to serve elsewhere.
Exactly.
You know?
Besides the fronting a player in the box on that specific situation because of the risk of, if you don't front him, he gets a toe in or whatever. One of the other maxims that I always used to use is space doesn't score goals. I've never seen space score goals yet. And you'll see defenders in the inside the box. You ask them, what were you doing there? Coach, I was marking space. Marking space.
Marking oxygen.
And Trinidad and Tobago has had a history over the years. 5 men back. And we have 5 men. And three players from the other team back.
And goal scored.
And goal scored. 5 men are back.
It happened against Honduras.
Yeah. If we have 5 men back, those players must have somebody breathing down their back. And then the others perhaps can mark space because they have nobody to mark. But I'm marking space.
Yeah.
Just for space sake.
A good coach has always say, who you got it? Oxygen?
But even
star striker for the next team name is Space.
Doc mentioned the marking at the space as well, but a lot of times, and in our situation, it's used as an excuse, really. Because even though you pick up a position which, before the ball is served, you mark in space. But once the ball is delivered, then there's a responsibility to engage. So once the ball is coming across
you
the
have
face
to
of the
close
goal,
down, you have to engage the defender.
I have to engage. I can't.
And how could people be getting 2 and 3 yards?
That's right. In the 18 yards.
I'm talking 18 yards inside 8 from the penalty spot.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
People are getting 3 yards of space.
Yeah, I have played with stoppers who their strength is not in tackling. So they always retreat. The forward is coming down there in the 18 yard, they go to the 60 yard, they end up being a goalkeeper first. Because they believe just holding a defensive position is their responsibility, you know. But no, there are times when you need to forget space and go to the man.
That's right.
You have to, because simple things that I used to do in the game is if my opposing midfielder gets the ball with about 4 or 5 yards from me and I'm not close enough to put pressure on him immediately, what I try to do is minimize his option. So I know if I had the ball and I raise my head, if he's far away, I can see a bigger space. But if he's closer, it closes down the angle. So, okay, I can't stop him from turning, but I could minimize his option. So I would try to close the space quickly. Yeah.
Limit the space between you and him.
That's right.
Well, of course. Yeah.
Simple little...
No, the only other thing I wanted to talk about, and we don't have time, but still, we had so many set plays and dead ball situations, and now everybody that want to do the impossible. Why don't they run set plays as well? I have no idea.
From free kicks, perhaps I think you should have at least 3 options from free kicks.
Right.
And I especially if the first time or the second time things don't work, try one of your trick free kicks. From corner kicks, I honestly feel you should have at least 4, possibly 5 options from corner kick, depending on the team that you're playing.
Right.
And if you are a short team and you're going against giants and somebody with 6-footers in the box, it makes no sense just
Hanging it up.
knocking it over the top. What you can do is try a trick free kick where somebody has a chance to get to the byline and pull it back, etc. And each team must have at least 3 or 4 tricks from dead ball situations in and around the edge of the box and from corner kicks as well.
Closing remarks, anybody?
Yeah,
We got 1 minute.
I'll just touch with the dead balls because I think it's an area where you don't see enough, I think, thought put into it. I think, and both defensively and offensively, we can do a lot of work in defending and attacking those set pieces.
Okay, guys, I want to thank you guys for being here and again, appreciate you so much. ACTN, thank you for giving us the opportunity to bring the show to our viewers. Viewers, thank you for tuning in every Monday night. And as usual, we do repeat on a Tuesday. We do have a Facebook page. You can always go there and take a look and check us out. And drop us a line on our email address, fielddreamspt@gmail.com. Don't forget as well, on December 8th, 2019, at Manny Ramjan Stadium, Field of Dreams put on the SSFL North-South game. And we want to see you there. We want to see the stadium full, not half full like last year and the year before that. We want it full. So come on out and support the SSFL as well. The show's ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. Good night.